Howdy folks, Helcrex here. Welcome to episode 25 from Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today we're going to delve into the 60-ton Rifleman. Yep, the Rifleman. It's an iconic mech that's been seen many times on many different types of artwork. Shooting its autocannons and firing its lasers and, well, if you're any type of person that's been around for a long time, you really like the look of a rifleman. And if you have any, you're going to probably try to get a couple of them into your force. Now, with that in mind, let's just delve into what the rifleman is. As I said, it's a 60-ton. It's a 4.60, doesn't have any jump jets, 10 heat sinks, 120 points of armor, kind of scratchy there. And it carries 2 large lasers, 2 autocannon 5s, a ton of ammo to go with it, and 2 medium lasers. Alright. What is the biggest problem with that right there? You look at it and go, I don't see anything wrong. Well, there's big problems right there. Because if you add up all the heat this thing can dish out, if somebody decides to forget that they have heat sinks all together and just keep smashing and mashing on that firing button, it won't be too long before they're in a stew pot. Now, let's just add this all up. 2 large lasers is, 8 each, that's 16. 2 autocannons, that's 18. 18. And you have 10 heat sinks. Well, that leaves you 8. If you fire both of those and you want to be in a fire support mode, well, that puts you 8 up in the heat scale immediately. That ain't even counting if you're moved or not. And let's just check here. If you moved, 8 up on the heat scale gets -1 to movement and a +1 to fire. You just made it harder for yourself to even hit something the next turn. Alright? Let's say you ran and did that. So now you're up on 10. Guess what? Now you're -2 movement and a +1 to hit. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. So what do you have to do with this mech? Well, you got to do heat management. Now, when you're talking about heat management, what is the role of the rifleman? Well, the rifleman, theoretically, it's supposed to be an anti-air mech that goes out there and shoots down VTOLs, aerospace fighters, that kind of stuff that's coming in. And its role isn't supposed to be for frontline work, right? Or it's secondary support running behind the other forces. It's a follow-on, sniping from the edges, that kind of thing. Now, there's really not much that really works into the game that really moves into that role that it's designed for in your typical pickup game. You know, somebody was like, oh, I want to play a rifleman. Oh, it's because I seen it in the book. Okay. They pick it up and then they just start playing with it and not paying attention what this thing does for itself. They're going to be having problems. And you have to, this is where in the year 3025, in that era when you got single heat sinks, is when you learn the basics of the game. This is what I've always said from the very get-go. If you want to learn how to play Battletech really well, play 3025. Don't get into the clans and later with the high-tech stuff and all the double heat sinks. Go back to the very beginning and learn the basics of the game. This is one mech that teaches you basics. Now, how do you use this thing? All right. If you want to be in the fire support mode, you fire 1 laser, that's 8, and you fire the 2 autocannons, that's 10. If you walk, that's 11. If you run, there's 12. Okay? And that's how you do it. You just look at it and say, oh, that large laser, I'm shutting that thing off. I'm not going to use it. And that is how you have to be in the mentality with this thing. You can never fire that thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to do an alpha strike. I'm going to kill a mech. And like I've said before, the number of times I've seen somebody try to alpha strike and the end result is a big 0, nothing, nada, or just scratching the paint off somebody. you're not going to kill usually a mech unless you get the golden BB and it goes in through someplace and hits an ammo through or an engine or a gyro or something because you rolled snake eyes for after you hit. Okay, that you're gambling right there. I don't gamble on trying to make those lucky shots. They just happen if they happen. Okay, that's just how you have to play. You have to think long term. The end game. Where do you want to be at the end? And then when you're playing this mech, I always go, like I've said, I find some place where there's like woods or a hill where I'm getting some partial cover, and I just sit there and just lay down fire. And if I have to move, I can move. The one thing about this mech that is missing is jump jets. And with those missing jump jets, it makes it a little harder sometimes to displace. Now, let's say you're in a city fight, not having jump jets, I believe, is a detriment. And if I'm getting into a city fight, I'm usually running mechs in there that have jump jets to be able to displace from block to block over buildings, and your mobility is increased. Now you're going to have problems with shooting, obviously, if you use your jump jets, but you're getting into a new location where you can assess the threat and answer it. Now, let's just let's see if they got some variants here in the book, in the 3025 book. The one they really talk about, okay, the Davian one, which is the models intended for the heavy. What they do is replacing the autocannons with a PPC. So you take the two autocannons, dump those, and give it a PPC. All right. Or maybe it's two PPCs. Well, that would be, wow, okay. That would be even worse if you replace each autocannon with a PPC. You fire the two PPCs, you're at 20 heat already. We're going right back into the same problem. So if you walked, you're at 21, and you just went up on 11. So you got to add heat sinks to this thing, and even adding some heat sinks because you're looking at a few, and it's still gonna not be really working so well. So that's basically the one thing they're talking about is replacing stuff. Now, if I'm going to run this mech out on the battlefield, and one thing I always like to do, is if you want the iconic autocannons, fine, that's okay. You can do that. Take off one of those large lasers and replace it with a medium laser. So you're not losing some firepower. You're going to keep it there. So that leaves you with a few tons left over. And I always like to toss on at least another heat sink and throw the rest into armor. That way you can survive a little longer. And with removal of the one large laser, so now you moved into the most you're going to do at long range is 10, and if you move and you have that extra heat sink, you're not going to have any problems with heat for a while. So if you have 11 and you walk, you're not heating up at all. And if you run, you're going up 1, so you can do that for 4 turns before you have to shut something off and cool off a little bit, and then go right back into laying down fire support. Because this is not, still, any way you look at it, this is not really going to be a heavy mech that's doing the job of breaking through lines. This is a sniping kind of mech that you sit back and just plink away at somebody. Now, the other thing you could do is remove an autocannon. So that's 8 tons right there, and replace it with, let's say, a medium laser. So there's one medium laser, and you still have 7 left. Put a couple heat sinks on this thing. I like to put in, I think, 4 more. So that leaves you 3. Then put some medium laser and or armor. Back to the thing of putting more armor on this thing. So That way, you can fire the autocannons and medium lasers. So it's just how you look at heat management, and if you want to get in really close, so you have some more medium lasers, so this becomes less of a support mech, but more of a ripping armor off people that have less armor toward the middle, the end game. With a whole bunch of medium lasers, you're getting more chances with crit, and you get more shots. And 5 points is 5 points. It's the same amount of damage those autocannons are going to do. So if you get in close, you're doing the same thing, and you can do more of it with more medium lasers. All right. So that's pretty much it. Just remember, when you take this mech out, you have to shut off a large laser. Otherwise, you fire everything, the 2 autocannons and the 2 large lasers when at range 15, you're basically cooking yourself right off the bat, and you just slowed yourself down and made it harder to even hit something in the long run. And if you do that 2 turns in a row, well, let's just look at that. If you did it for 2 turns, that's up at 16, and that's -3, shut down on a 4+, +2 to hit. Yeah, that's not doing you any favors. And then if you go up and do it for a 3rd turn, well, you're looking at those, trying to avoid those ammo explosions, which I keep telling people about that does happen, which I have seen many times. Individuals that don't pay attention to these things, and then they get a SRM2 Inferno, and they are roasting, and then they cook off. So don't do that. All right? If you got any questions, drop them down below. Hit the subscribe and the like button. This is Hulkrix, and we'll talk with you later.